Can the Warriors still win the NBA championship? In this video, we're going to go ahead and discuss that. But first and foremost, before we start, we're going to go ahead and just let everybody know. Thank you guys for watching. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Having covered an NBA final series before in last year's 2K series against actually Warriors and Boston, it's very easy to see some of the key roster points that, you know, kind of make and break the Warriors here. The first point here is obviously Boston has their key defense, which is they've always been known historically defensively for their defensive game, especially when they had, you know, the big three with Larry Bird and Robert Parrish, Cedric Maxwell, and Kevin McHale, you know, in the 80s. You know, they gave the Lakers a good run in 3 of those final series, and obviously they ended up winning the 84 against the Lakers. So, you know, that's something that we definitely saw as a recap of Game 1. I mean, if we literally just see the fourth quarter alone, you see that Boston really took over defensively, and they outscored the Warriors 40-16, and ended up basically coming up with one of the greatest comebacks in the third quarter in NBA Finals history, and they end up winning 120-108. So definitely that's going to be a key point, and the Celtics have done something that maybe other teams had not been able to do to the Warrior dynasty, and that is really force them to play defense, because the Warriors have always been known as a three-point shooting team, and if you think about it, one of their key assets when it comes to their stars, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, is their shooting. And they've been able to get away with certain lack of defense. You know, they usually rely on Draymond Green to be that defensive person. So now the Celtics, not only are they a strong defensive team, but they're also a team that can keep up with them. Countless times I saw throughout the Game 1 game that, you know, Golden State would pull up and shoot a 3, and Boston would come right back, especially Al Horford ended up having a career game. And so now that's something that the Warriors for the rest of this series are going to have to evaluate and really push themselves, not only on the offensive side, but on the defensive side. So that's definitely key point number 1, is you definitely want to, Warriors will definitely have to pick up their pace on the defensive end if they want to beat Boston in this championship series here. And so another key point that they're going to have to basically keep an eye on is keeping Jayson Tatum at bay. So Tatum, without a doubt, has been having a phenomenal playoff series. He definitely has been playing over 40 minutes, I think, pretty much every game since the first round. So he's definitely going to be the key point in being able to get the stop there and trying to basically exploit that matchup, because, you know, Marcus Smart's really good on the defensive end, kind of has his moments on he's good on the defensive end, has questionable moments sometimes on the offensive, but he can be pretty good. It's just it's a hit or a miss. Tatum is really the one that kind of keeps that Boston composure. And if we saw another thing that we saw in Game 1 was the bench ended up performing really, really well with Horford 26, and then obviously we had Derrick White with 21. And Smart ended up having a pretty decent game, 18 points. So that's a fantastic matchup. And we saw actually that was another difference maker with the Warriors, because some of the players ended up struggling a little bit. You know, obviously Draymond's never really known for having a high offensive point ratio. He's more of the defensive person that carries them. But Kevon Looney, my boy Looney, ended up playing about 25 minutes and only scored about 4 points. And Klay Thompson, who is definitely well known as one of the Splash Brothers, ended up having 15 points. So it's not terrible, but it's not great either, and it's not going to help you win a championship if basically your co-star is producing average numbers, for lack of a better word. And then as the new splash bro, Jordan Poole, ended up scoring 9 points. Again, also on 25 minutes played in that first game. So definitely that's going to be something that they're going to have to kind of another key point to this series is whether or not the supporting cast can do their role and outplay basically their matchup. So that definitely will be key point number 2. Point number 3, which will probably be the final one for this video, is how badly do they want it? How badly do they want to win this championship? One thing that commentators talk all the time is legacy, right? And I was just reading this article about Klay Thompson's dad, comparing him to NBA legends basically, and this is what makes or breaks a legend story in a sense, is whether or not they're able to come back from something like this. Obviously, it's just a 1-game loss, but considering they were at home with a dominant lead heading into the fourth quarter, and they ended up getting stunned in the fashion that they did, it wasn't a close loss. It ended up becoming a 12-point deficit. And the Warriors were lost in those last 3 minutes of that game, 3 to 4 minutes. And so that's definitely something that they're going to have to very much kind of take a look at, is, just talking about Klay Thompson again, is, Klay is going to have to perform to the level of Steph Curry. Obviously, the narrative this season is whether or not, at least for the Warriors, is whether or not they can go back and back into that dynasty mode that they were just at in 2019 when they went to the finals against Toronto. Is can they go back to that after everything that's happened, after the group and the core has gotten a little older? Klay Thompson has it year and a half away from basketball, and whether or not Steph Curry can become one of the NBA all-time greats by winning his first Finals MVP. That's pretty much the big narrative. Obviously, Draymond, with his comments, obviously have said has sparked the fire for the Celtics, and the Celtics clearly want it. The Celtics clearly want to beat the Warriors, especially after the comments that Draymond made. They're clearly motivated. Obviously, on the other side of the narrative, you have Tatum and Brown, who were told repetitively that they should break up, that one of them should get traded because Boston was never going to win with that core. They just weren't enough. And now they're basically 3 games away from, destroying that narrative. You have Al Horford, who has been an NBA journeyman, a very strong asset, throughout his entire NBA career, on the verge of becoming finally an NBA champion after a long pursuit in multiple teams that he ended up playing with throughout his great career. And you have Marcus Smart, who has won Defensive Player of the Year multiple times, and now you have even Robert Williams and some of these guys that are really just all about team hustle, and they want to show that they were underrated throughout their throughout their either draft class or they were undrafted. They want to show that people made the mistakes by not picking them. So now it kind of comes down to we have to flip the side to Golden State, and it's like, okay, well, it's clear Boston wants it. How badly do you guys want to beat Boston? And that's definitely the way I would definitely want to end this video here, guys, because I definitely do think that the Warriors, despite the Game 1 loss, they definitely can still win this series and this championship. They have very talented guys. Not saying that Boston doesn't have talented people, but they have talented guys who have been here before. And sometimes, and I really do think that that's the difference maker here. At least for this year. Next year could be a different story, but I definitely do think that experience is the difference here in this year's finals. And I really do think that, as long as they're able to basically live up to that expectation that they have set for themselves, the Warriors will win. It'll be a tough series. I would predict that this would go down to 7. I really do think it's gonna be a very grind and hustle game, because both these guys are gonna both these teams are gonna be shooting themselves, one team shoot three, another team shoot three, and they're gonna keep going like that. Play very defensive until the very, very end. And so, with that being said, guys, leave a comment below if you don't agree. But I really do think that they're going to be the ones that are going to win this championship. Curry will end up winning that MVP. Thompson will end up living to that hype that he's been having since last year and a half. Because most people, some people counted him out. Some people were like, Klay Thompson's going to be just as good, if not better, than when he was in 2019. And I really do think that he's put in the work and he's had a phenomenal season. And this is just such a great way to cap that off, guys. Leave a comment below if you don't agree. I would definitely love to start a conversation, guys. And with that being said, you guys take care, guys. This has been DC3 Johnson. Over and out. Kind of like just play off each other in a sense, as that's kind of what we did to win this title here. Chef Curry named Finals MVP.